All right, so you couldn't tell by the intro or by the slightly suggestive thumbnail or even by the title, today we are going to be talking about sex. Now, half of you, maybe even a little bit more than half, who knows, might be like, Denzel, why are you making such a big deal about this? Just get on with it. But I'm doing that because I know there's also a lot of you, a good percentage of you, that are like,
oh my gosh, no, not this subject.
Like, maybe even looking forward to it, but there's like certain limit that you guys have. And I know this especially growing up as a strongly devout Christian, and all the stuff about purity culture and things of that nature, which we may or may not get into in this video as well. But just want to make it clear that this is what we're going to be talking about. This is going to be a Candid Concepts episode, and if you are not comfortable with the topic and the extent of how much it might go, then I suggest that you leave and just pay attention to my other videos. But if you are comfortable with this topic and everything, then right now we are going to get into it, and I'm going to finish off the disclaimers by just also saying that although I'm not going to be like 100% explicit, I'm probably going to be a little bit explicit, and this is going to be a lot of just like brainstorming, to be honest, like thinking out loud. So I've processed a lot of these thoughts, but I'm now pitching what I have so far to the rest of you guys to see, whether you're a Christian who's strongly devout and believes in sex and, the confines of marriage, or like if you're like totally opposite, like you just hedonist, whatever you might be, just having sex with anyone and everyone, whenever, you don't care about it in that sense and all of that, like wherever you might be on that spectrum, I think that anybody would enjoy this conversation and have some input. And I'm open to hearing any input because I just want to know what the people are thinking. So without further ado, I'm going to jump this off by telling a story. So about maybe 2 years ago, Jamila, my lovely wife, and I were hanging out with a friend. And this friend of ours is also a strongly devout Christian. And he was like, pretty much we were talking about movies or something. We were talking about something. I don't even know how we got onto the topic, but he alluded to how every rated R movie that he knows of has like a sex scene or nudity in the first 10 minutes of the movie. And he pretty much was like expressing some type of like disapproval toward it. And I'm not saying that, like every rated R movie should have this, but this is just how he responded. And somehow that conversation led to, I think I made a comment about how it's just really interesting that in other countries, this might not be as big of a problem, because in other countries, they probably just see sex scenes, or they just see sex, they see nudity, and they're just like, yeah, it's nudity, what's the big deal? We have statues that are nude, like nobody's really looking at them like that, it's just art. But then of course we have like hornballs, mostly in America, I feel like, but maybe I'm wrong about that, but we have a lot of hornballs who they see even littlest bit of nudity and they're just out of control. Maybe it doesn't even have to be nudity, it could be just something. I had a friend back in college who also a very strong Christian and he, every single time when we were walking, like maybe like behind a woman who had a very nice posterior, for lack of better terms, he would pretty much literally, I'm not exaggerating, he'd be like, oh God, and to the point where like it would be like to the point where like he'd do it in a way that like somehow the woman would not notice or like hear him in the background, and he wasn't trying to have the woman hear it, But like, and he wasn't doing it for show either. Like, he was a sincere guy, but like, he struggled that much with seeing that, like seeing a fat butt, that now as soon as he sees it, it's like he just starts what we call lusting or fantasizing about what he'd do with it. And I always found that to be like very interesting myself. So back to the story about my the friend that me and Jamila were talking to. When he mentioned that and everything, I said how like, yeah, in other countries it doesn't really seem like as crazy of a phenomenon. Me, him, and Jamila, we started to like really like discuss that, and we were talking about how like, yeah, it is really interesting how that's the case, because when you think about things such as like nude beaches are not for hornballs. Most would even say that it's for elderly people. But yeah, it's just somewhat like a Garden of Eden type of situation, you know, like just be free. Like nobody's over here like really thinking about sex. We're just walking in nature, you know what I mean? And it makes you wonder like how many people would be able to actually handle that kind of freedom, you know? And me and Jamila started like, you know, we made like comments like, yeah, actually like going to a nude beach would be pretty dope, you know, like just cause whatever. But this friend of ours was like, oh, no can do, like I would just not be able to do that. And I respect his honesty with that. Like, hey, know your struggles, know how far you can go with certain things. And yeah, the thing about that was that it was just still interesting to me, because I know that most men would probably be in the same position. And because of that, if I were to go to most men and tell them how, for me, that wouldn't be the same, then they'd probably like, nah, nigga, you lying. Like they'd see it in some type of way that's like, there's no way that you'd go to a nude beach and you're not like thinking of all of the girls that you can smash, or like fantasizing about them in some way. Like you have to be either like in denial or you're just straight up lying to us. But it's like, no, like, trust me. Why would I lie about this? Like, I will be honest with the struggles that I do have. And like, this is just something that's like, for me, it's like a spectrum. But like, so I was thinking about a lot of these things, and I've thought about these things for a while. So again, I'm unpacking throughout this video. And at the end, I really want to know what y'all's thoughts are on a lot of things that I said. I'm being very open and honest here. And so in saying that and in exploring all of this, I was like, yeah, it's really interesting how, for me, a naked body, like just a nude body, is not tempting, you know? For me, it's just beautiful. It's just art. And I know that on my channel I talk a lot about, like, you know, how like a naked body is beautiful and everything like that. Usually I'm speaking metaphorically, but this time we are speaking literally. Like, a woman's naked body to me is just, it's just beautiful, you know? But it's not something that I'd like, I feel like very rarely would I find myself lusting over it. And this now goes into the idea of like what exactly is lusting, which is another thing that, you know, I wanted to kind of tell y'all a little bit of story about. So, back at my college, Liberty University that I went to, they had this thing called prayer leaders, or pretty much they're like Bible study leaders for the hall. So my freshman year, I was trying to actually, I was trying to apply to become one of these prayer leaders, and they had us and like maybe like 4 or 5 other guys in there who were applying at the same time, and they were asking us all these questions. The RAs were asking us questions, and one of the questions that I remember them asking was, okay, so everybody answer honestly, when was the last time that you lusted after a woman? And this was a very interesting question for me. I was not trying to overcomplicate it, but that's just, I guess that's just how I am. I just really wanted to know, like, what even is lusting, you know? So the other guys, every other guy was like, oh man, just yesterday, yeah, 2 days ago, maybe like 3 days ago, shoot, I just lusted after some girl before I walked in here. And sure, of course I knew I could have seemed like the good Christian who was honest and vulnerable and transparent and saying like, yeah, this is what I struggled with too, you know, like, and I lusted after someone just before coming in here and I prayed for forgiveness. But it's like, no, that to me is like, it's just not real. As in, like, it's real for a lot of people, but for me, it wouldn't be real because that just wasn't the case. Instead, I just decided to ask a clarifying question. And I asked him, like, okay, would noticing be the same as lusting? The reason why I say this, like, because when I asked that question, everyone just started like looking around, like, oh, what is he talking about? I was like, okay, the reason why I asked this is because, for example, yesterday we had a pool party. We invited the sister dorm over, and we were all in the pool and everything. And I remember a distinct moment where so-and-so, I'm not going to say her name, but so-and-so was in the pool, and when she came out like right in front of me, I just happened to notice, like, oh, so-and-so has really big boobs. They're nice. And then I just went on about my business. That was all. Does that count as lusting? Because if so, then yeah, yesterday. But if not, then I don't really remember the last time that I lusted. Not that I never do, but I think it takes more for me to actually start fantasizing and thinking about a woman in that kind of way or whatever. So they start having all this conversation, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I don't know what it was, but I still didn't really get that position. A lot of other guys did. Maybe they were looking for more honesty and they probably didn't really believe that I was actually being honest. I don't know. But that's okay. It was probably for the best. But that was one of those situations where it's like, again, what is sexualizing? What is sexualization? Why are we like this? Is there a way that we could change this? So the last thing that I'm just going to bring up before I start like asking these questions is that I like to give the example of Beyonce, the beautiful Beyonce. Now, 3 different scenarios. Scenario number 1. These are also not real. As far as my knowledge, Beyonce has not dropped a nude before. So yeah, but scenario number 1. I'm on Twitter, and I happen to be scrolling past, down my timeline, and I happen to scroll past Beyonce's nude, not knowing that it's Beyonce's nude. What would I do? Honestly speaking, most likely I'd just be like, oh, that's a nice body, and just keep on moving on. Scenario number 2, and I would not even give that body like a second thought, nothing, because it's like, oh, like I've seen nudes. Like, it is what it is. It's just another woman's body, like, and it's beautiful. It's nice, but it is what it is. Scenario number 2, same situation, but this time captioned revealing like, oh, Beyonce's nude or Beyonce's nudes that just dropped. Now in this situation, I'm gonna be like, oh, these are Beyonce. This is Beyonce's body. All of a sudden, magically, it's a little bit more intriguing to me. It's a little bit more interesting. And I know I'm not saying it's right. I'm just being honest with y'all. Like, it's freaking Beyonce. Like, it dropped. I understand that, like, this is a invasion of privacy, maybe, like, like if it leaked or whatnot, just like how, like, back in the past, like when Jennifer Lawrence's and Vanessa Hudgens and a whole bunch of other, like, celebrities I can't really, like, remember, like, their nudes, like, leaked. It's different from when, like, Kim Kardashian, like, makes a whole selfie book of her nudes. I get that. And I'm not saying that I'm right for it, but I can't help that I would be curious, like, if it was on my timeline, just to, like, take a peek and, like, look at it and be like, oh, wow, admire it. That's nice. Whatever. Go on about my business. Third scenario. If Beyonce sent me those same exact pictures that are in scenario number 1 and scenario number 2, and she texted me some freaky stuff like, oh, this is for you, daddy, something like that, you know what I mean? Now, I'm at a point where I'm lusting. That's where, like, 'cause now it's sexually charged, and something's just like happening to titillate me, to entice me, to tantalize me, stuff of that nature. And yeah, gotta admit, at that point, I'm gonna be eating it up, like like I don't know, there's just like an energy behind it now that's like now appealing to me. But that's where it starts for me. In the same sense, at a nude beach, if I see a naked body, oh, that's nice. Oh, that person's got a nice body. Cool. Oh, shoot. Nice boobs. Whatever. Oh, nice butt. I don't know. Whatever it might be. You know. But I realized also that I kind of do the same thing for men. And I'm secure enough in my sexuality to know that I am not homosexual at all. But if I see a guy like running past or something, like taking a jog, like even right now, like if somebody like happened to like be like jogging past or whatever, and they had their shirt off, I would check them out in a way to see like, oh, you know, like, oh, those are nice abs, or like, oh wow, like I need to get my chest like that, or like, you know, something like that. Like I would admire the body as like an artistic sculpture of some sort. And I know that there's probably some idiotic men out there, maybe even some women, who are just like, nah, Denzel, that's gay. If you think so, that's on you. I know myself enough to know that the difference. But yeah, in that same sense, I'm admiring the body, and I'm looking long enough just to still admire it. And I've caught myself do that a lot of times. I think that in the same sense, that's what I do with a lot of women. Same thing. Just like how I'd look at somebody's like abs or something, even just take it as far as possible. The Rock, that dude is brolic. You can't tell me that if you met The Rock and he's like flexing or whatever, you, even if you're a straight guy, you would not want to, if you had the opportunity to do this without feeling like your sexuality was in question for whatever reason, would you pass up that opportunity just to like, you know, like just see how it feels? You know what I'm saying? Like maybe I would, I don't know. But to me, I feel like that's just, again, it's just a curiosity. Like, bro, like how does that freaking feel like? Like, dude, what? You know? So in the same sense, with women, for me, it's like, I've never put out a video like this before. This is hilarious. But for me, it's like if I see a woman who has nice boobs, or even like a nice, soft looking butt or something like that, sure, by nature, I would like to, I guess, what's the word? I'd like to, you know, like feel on it. Like, not that I'm going to request that of the woman. I know better. I have enough social skills and all of that. But I can't help that my actual desire would be like, oh, I would love to see how that feels, just out of curiosity. And to me, that is still different. It's equivalent to wanting to just see how The Rock's abs or something like felt like. But yeah, to me, it is still, dang, well, I'm about to get jumped. To me, it is still different than actually like lusting after a person. Now, if I start like fantasizing about, you know, like what I could do to that butt, like all this other stuff, that's where now it tips over into lusting. That's where it now tips over into sexualizing, in my opinion. So, all of that being said, my questions, my thoughts, after spilling all of these thoughts, I've realized that this is how I approach sexuality. This is how, or sexualization. This is how I approach lust in that way. If we're at a nude beach and you're just naked, I might admire your body just like on a basic level without any erotic element to it. But if you start twerking, I can't promise you now that I'm no longer going to be just admiring your body. If you start putting lotion on yourself like this, can't promise you that it's going to stay on that level. The moment that somebody starts to actually sexualize their body in a way, that's when it begins to affect me. But if the person's not really willing, because I'm someone who feeds off of desire. For those of you who may have watched by any chance, my 5 erotic blueprints video, I'm a shapeshifter. Surprise, surprise. And so I actually got all of the percentages like the same, and shapeshifter was at the top. I had no idea what these things were when I went into it, but yeah, it blew my mind to the point where I was almost in tears. I started getting the program and everything because, yeah, I've been really working through a lot having to do with sex, and I think that a lot of it has to do with what I'm talking about, like purity culture. Like, as Christians, a lot of us believe that, yeah, like, you shouldn't have sex before marriage, you know, and because that's God's plan, and after you get married, have as much sex as you want possible and everything like that. But unfortunately, that weight for a lot of us takes a huge toll on us, because then it's like, as soon as you get married, now it's like, all right, you spent so much time fighting resisting every temptation, every thought, all of that. Now you're expected to lean all into it because it's no longer bad. And this causes a lot of problems, guys. It causes a lot of problems, in my opinion. I know couples that literally, after years of being married, they have still been unable to properly have sex. I even know a couple that hasn't been able to have sex at all because the significant other has spent so much of their life fighting against lust. Even before they were lusting, you know, before they started to even have sexual interest, it was just programmed into their mind to fight against the urge. And so now it's just a knee-jerk reaction that whenever you're turned on, the mind just does everything to fight against it naturally. And so once they get married, nothing. Can you imagine how difficult that is? I know another couple who they're able to kind of have sex, but like it's like it's tough. I know another couple that he claimed that they had a very horrible sex life up until therapy for like years. And even then they're still struggling, and it's because of, you know, all of these thoughts fighting against sexual temptations and stuff like that. As I'm growing to one day, hopefully God willing, become a father, I'm wondering, like, how should I approach purity culture? How should I approach teaching my child about sex, my children about sex, in a way that won't let them become a quote-unquote slut / man whore, but also won't let them become a nun of some sort that's like, now when they get older and they actually are able to get married and all of that, they won't be getting none. I'm really wondering what can be done about stuff like this. Where does the line get drawn? For those of us who aren't Christians, who don't really care about like sex before marriage, who had a lot of sex before getting married and everything. I personally saved myself for marriage. I did do other things. So some people consider that not being a virgin or whatever. Like, however you decide, that's on you. But I did not have sexual intercourse before marriage. And so from someone like me, I know that my experiences are different from a lot of people's. And I'm trying to get, like, you know, anybody who's open, like, your opinions, like, how do you view, what are your thoughts on where I'm at right now? You know, like, sometimes I think to myself that maybe if I were more exposed to a lot of things when I was younger, maybe if I had that freedom, then not even me, but like even a lot of other guys that I know, if they had the freedom to be able to really enjoy sex before marriage, or even if it's not enjoying sex before marriage, but it's getting so hot in here. Even if it's not to like necessarily enjoy sex before marriage, but more of the ability to, like, kind of, I guess, be desensitized a little bit to sexual things to an extent. I wonder if they'd still be as easily aroused and tempted as a lot of other people are. Or as they are right now, I should say. Sorry, this is my first time, like, articulating this in public, so I'm trying to find a way to put it in the right words. But yeah, like, do you think that us living in a nation where there's nudity everywhere and sex scenes everywhere and all of that, is it beneficial in any ways where now it's like, oh, I see nudes all the time, so I'm not gonna be as easily, like, turned on or whatever if I just see a nude. I can just keep on, like, scrolling right past it or whatever? Or is it still, like, you know, as opposed to, like, I know a lot of Christians who, I'm not even kidding, I know couples who said that they couldn't even hold hands, or all they could do was hold hands until they got married, because it was just the sexual tension was just that exciting for them. And it's like, dang, so that means, like, the smallest bit of cleavage that you might see, anything just kind of, like, gets to you, you know? And that's not good, right? You know, you shouldn't be. I mean, it's nice to be aroused by your wife. It's nice to be aroused even by your significant other, even if it's your, like, fiance or your girlfriend, you know? These things are nice. If you're not tempted by your significant other at all before getting married, you should probably check on that before you get married. Trust me. But so I had to go inside because it got too hot in the car, not only for me, but for my iPad that I'm recording off of. And I just didn't want to deal with that anymore. So, just a disclaimer, my wife is working in the back, and she does a lot of stuff on the phone, so ignore the mousy voices that you might hear in the background. Anyway, continuing with what we were saying. So I remember that I was in class, again, at Liberty University, and my teacher, my professor, he was just trying to pull up a speech video, and then on the side, there was one of those ads of a girl in a bikini. And I sat there like this, like, I saw it, but I was just like, okay, I know that what we're really trying to do over here is pay attention to whatever speech he's about to bring up. We see people in bikinis all the time. But I swear, y'all, my class is, oh, Dr. Kramer, can you please just, like, even the women. I'm like, don't you see this every day? And I can't tell how much of it was for show, or, you know, like, I'm such a good Christian, I avert my eyes every single time. I'm like Job 31 verse 5 or whatever verse it is, where it's like, how could I lust upon a woman? Like, I don't know, I didn't know, but it's just like, guys, I know that y'all see these ads all the time, and we're like 25 here, 24, the youngest of us is probably 23. I remember another time, there was another girl who, and I'm just giving all of this because I've thought so much about it. There was another instance where, you know, those prayer leaders that I was talking about. So this is a girl who actually, my freshman year, she became a prayer leader. She was able to lead Bible study for a lot of women women in her hall, and there was a joke at the time. It was friendly, sometimes not so friendly, like in the African American community, dark skin versus light skinned. And there was a picture that was circulating on Twitter of a male, light skinned guy who had cum on his face. And me and my group of friends at the time, one of them just said, well, light skins take another L. And we just kind of, like, laughed about it or whatever like that. And the girl who was the prayer leader, she was like, she looked at the picture, she was like, oh man, like, yeah, but, like, what is that? Like, Like, I don't get it. Like, did he sneeze? And our laughing immediately turned into, are you serious? And she's like, yeah. And we could not tell if she was joking, but we found out she was not joking, guys. She was that sheltered that she did not know what cum was. And then later on, we found out even more how there was somebody in her prayer group who told her, who was telling us like how like they don't really like being in her prayer group because when she came to her with sexual problems, then the prayer leader, that same girl who didn't know what cum was, she didn't even really know how to like engage. Like she didn't really even understand enough about it. Now the girl is married now as of like a few years ago, some years ago, and I think as of this year she's pregnant. So I'm glad she figured it out. But maybe that's how it should be. I don't know, but I don't know, guys. I'm wondering like what do we need to do about this? How should we approach this from now on? Because I feel like this is a problem. How do you guys handle the birds and bees talk? Like, how do you plan on doing that with your children? How have you done it with your children? How have your parents done it with you? How should they have done it better? How would you have done it better? What age would you have done it? Regardless of whatever spiritual background that you're coming from. Like, yeah, like, what do y'all think? I don't even remember getting that talk. My dad claims that he gave me that talk. I told him, no, I don't remember. He's like, well, we did. And I feel like I'd remember a talk like that. But okay, Dad, if you say so. What do y'all think about all of the stuff that I just spewed here? This is one of the videos where I'm just giving my thoughts, like I said. And I'm just trying to piece this together, and I need more perspectives to be able to really understand. So I'm really opening up discussion with this one. Share the video if you like, comment. Like, I'm gonna have some discussion about this. If you wanna hit me up on Twitter to have this conversation or something, like, I wanna know. I will respond to all the comments. But yeah, this is something that's just like really been on my mind, and I have more videos coming out soon about this. So if you guys are interested, definitely let me know. Because yeah, I remember in the past, I used to be afraid to even like mention the word sex on this channel, unless if I was like preaching against it. And it's like, this stuff is so corny, like I saw a really good TikTok at one point about, actually I'll just play it for you guys right now.
Okay, this has me going, so tell me the most like innocent, stupid thing you were made to feel ashamed of in the church. For me, graphic t-shirts. It was Christmas time, and the point was made that apparently wearing a candy cane on a t-shirt is sending coded messages to the subconscious minds of boys, telling them that you are something to be licked. This person went on to tell me that most t-shirts carry similar, like, subtle sexual innuendos. Like the thought of a daughter of God walking around in a Nike t-shirt with "Just Do It" emblazoned on her chest. Satan in action. Also, can we talk about how the church continues to tell us that we live in a sex-obsessed culture? Meanwhile, they're the ones that like read sex into everything. Like, you sound really horny.
It's stupid. Like, what the heck? Like, this is a problem. So, what can we do about this? I know I've asked a lot of questions, but just to rehash. Do you think that us being exposed to nudes and like all of this, people breastfeeding in public, stuff like that, like, do you think that that's good now for us to just become conditioned and then no longer be as easily tantalized and aroused to the point where now if I'm holding my girlfriend's hand, then all of a sudden I just can't help myself and I feel like I'm sinning and lusting? Or do you think that that's actually a problem? Do you think that it all just depends on the person? That no matter what the thing is, some people will be able to be exposed to the same things, and when they grow up, if they go to a new beach, it don't matter if the girl is shaking her butt or if she's just chilling in the sun, or if the guy's like, you know, hung or whatever, you know, like at the end of the day, a person's gonna lust if a person wants to lust. And then all this pressure that we put on women now to like cover up and do things because guys are just so weak that we, like Andy Mineo and Lecrae were hyped because Kim Kardashian used one of their songs, I think it was Coming In Hot, in one of her model shoots or something like that. And when they posted it, just like celebrate, then people start like commenting like, how could you share? Okay, so now what's going on? Technology is just not working in my favor today. The kid has come home, so I cannot record in my regular spot, and as I'm editing, I realized where my video cut off, so now I have to redo this ending, but I was pretty much already done anyway. All I was pretty much saying was like people were saying like, oh, for whatever reason, like they were like, yeah, Andy Mineo, like how could you share such a thing? And I'm like, bro, if you were tempted by Kim Kardashian and that to like start fantasizing about stuff, I feel like the problem, no offense, is more on you. So anyway, whole point of this video, what are your thoughts? Let me know what y'all think in the description below. Comment. I really want to hear y'all's comments. I want to be able to discuss this. And like I said, more videos like this are going to be coming out soon. So just definitely let me know what you guys think. And done. Hey, I just wanted to briefly thank you for taking the time to watch this video, whether it was on regular speed or 2x speed, whatever it was. Just thank you for consuming the content. And around me, you should be able to see a few little buttons and logos for other recommended videos, because, you know, I make good content, new ones, but then I also have some really good old content too that you should probably check out. But make sure that if you really like this video, feel free to subscribe, to share. It really helps this humble channel to expand and reach more people and ultimately help more people. So once again, thanks for watching, and hope you have a great rest of your day.